You need to fall in love with the problem, and then you need to fall in love with solving the problem through your solution and through your craft. If you're in that zone, then startup is a great idea.
Should you do it for wealth creation?
If that was the case, then many startups would not be born, because there will be lots of ups, but there'll be even many more downs. The downs will be really bad, heart-wrenching downs. In my opinion, at least, this is the right way of value creation. The focus has to be on.
My name is Abhinav. I represent the Wadhwani Foundation today. I have Shashank with me, who's the CEO and founder of Practo. Shashank comes from that era of entrepreneurship wherein Flipkart, Snapdeal, eBay's were the talk of the town, and entrepreneurship was very tech focused. You would imagine coders to get into startups and building the next big companies. So, Shashank, were you that stereotypical coder who'd be up through the nights in his dorm room, sipping chai and figuring what's the next thing you can code and build and ship into the world?
Absolutely, I was doing IT in Ideate Surathkal,
Right.
similar to computer science, the same course.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, after the first 1 year of college, second year onwards, it seemed like it was running on repeat. So I was very curious, and so got into entrepreneurship. And day in and day out, all I would do was sit in Ideate and figure out which ideas can be implemented. And yes, the coding through the night was quite a common thing, and that's actually how even Practo began. A few late nights of coding, and we got the first product out. A very stereotypical computer science graduate coding through the night to get the first version of the product out, and hustle during the day to get customers.
You were from NIT Surathkal, and 2008 is still early for the ages when entrepreneurship became glamorous. Why did you choose to start up? That's my number one question. And second is, what do you have to do with healthcare? You were an engineer. Why did you pick healthcare when you could have picked anything from retail to travel to whatnot?
Starting a business was really not even an option. However, in college, many things happen. And I remember in my first year, towards the end of it, I saw a poster on the, in my dorm room, and I saw a poster in the hostel which said that there's something called an entrepreneurship meetup that's happening. And there was a senior of mine, Ayush Junjunwala, who had just come back from Stanford and who had just heard about this thing called entrepreneurship and was setting up an e-cell, an entrepreneurship cell in our college. I joined the e-cell, and he interviewed, I think, 500 people or something like that across all batches, and finally selected, I think, 6 people. And in my batch, only 2. And that's how I met my co-founder, who also turned out to be selected among the 2 people in the entire batch. And so we just got introduced to entrepreneurship through a poster in our hostel, and then and start of an e-cell, and that's how this whole journey began of entrepreneurship. And then at the same time, my father was undergoing a knee replacement, and he and my mom, unfortunately, during those years, had a few healthcare incidences. They were admitted to the hospital a few times. I would say 2-3 times. So I spent a lot of time in the hospital, and I came across a lot of problems in the hospital. While in the college, I was thinking of college-like ideas. In the hospital, I was thinking hospital ideas. And that's when I met this doctor, who gave me my father's report, and it was a printed paper. He gave me a printed paper, and he nicely printed it out of a MacBook that he had. He had a Mac machine back in 2007. I was very impressed. I said, "Hey, wow, you have a Mac machine. Why don't you send me an email of this report so that I can send it to this doctor in the US? My mom wanted me to get a second opinion on." And he looked at me and he said that, "I'm sorry, I can't give you this on email because my software only has a print button. It doesn't have an email button." That got me thinking that, hey, the doctor is limited by the software. And he said, "Hey, you know what? A lot of patients ask me for email, but I'm not able to do it because the software is too old." So I knew computer science. I knew that it was a few lines of code. So I immediately put out a software which was an online software. It had an email button, and I gave it to him and said, "Now email it to me." So that product then got sold multiple times. Before I graduated, we had a few hundreds of customers. I would say maybe 100, 200 customers. So that's how I got into healthcare. That's how entrepreneurship happened. That's how healthcare happened. It was just the curiosity just led me to one to another, keep trying things out, seeing what are really problems that people face, and building stuff through my expertise, and then getting validation and improving on it, and constantly going forward.
Got it. Okay. Started up. I mean, you never wanted to build a marketplace. You never envisioned Practo as what Practo would be. You got slightly interested in the healthcare space, and you started building. Now, coming from NIT, and this was era, this was 2010. Today we see a lot of non-IIM, non-IITs, and a bunch of them, very many of them, go out and raise funding. You guys raised. When did you guys raise for the first time? Was raising of funds really necessary? Was it very detrimental to your growth or lack of growth per se? And how did you manage to raise your first round? Did finding co-founders become easier, or did you have co-founders before? Because, and I want you to answer this not just with your perspective, but with also how somebody, I think most of these guys who are attending today, and we marketed this session saying that, hey, this guy is not IIT, this guy is not IIM, he managed to build something big. So maybe he got something right, and there is a way. It's not impossible, although people believe that it's not impossible anymore. But there was only 5 years ago, people thought, okay, you need to have these pedigree to get anywhere in life.
I would say that it was very important for us that we were not dependent on funding. So from day one, we started off without any funds. We bootstrapped our company. I had I think I borrowed maybe 1 or 2 lakhs from my parents, and then I paid it back within a few years. To me, it was very important that I'm not dependent on anybody. We bootstrapped the company with a very, very small funds, and we did monthly accrual. So we would sell enough that we could fund the next month, and then we had enough for 2 months that we fund the next 4 months. And so it was internal accrual. So we ran the first, I think, 1 or 2 years completely being in a bootstrap profitable manner, which I think was very, very helpful. And it was never for us that if we don't get funding, we'll not do this company, or we'll do this company only if we get funding. Funding was never a milestone for us. It was never a codependent aspect. Today, I think a lot has been, celebrated on funding, which is unfortunate. Funding is, I think it's not the most important thing in a startup. The most important thing in your startup is your product, is your customers, is what you can build, what you can deploy, and that is not really dependent on funding. If that was the case, then many startups would not be born. So good ideas will anyways attract capital and move forward. Unfortunately, bad ideas also attract capital. So the focus has to be on good ideas, good execution, and that will take you forward.
Very nice. So, Shashank, I'm going to sort of take a stand for the entrepreneurs growing up today who are 20 years old. And 2008, we didn't see as many funding news. Startups were still new, and a lot of things weren't clear. But today, we grow up to read news that India has 100 unicorns. So many unicorns have now become public. But what would you tell somebody like this? He's like, hey, I mean, I have two offers with me. One pays me 1.5 lakhs a month. The other one pays me 2 lakhs a month. And here I can start up. I'll have to suffer for a bit, but I also have the optionality to raise funds if I try harder. If I focus my first 6 months on raising funding, I think I'll probably be able to raise funding. So doesn't that seem like a good option versus declining the first two job offers, not taking the funding, and building something on my own? What do you have to tell somebody like this?
I built Practo because I want to solve a problem. For me, the most important thing is the problem. I can't tolerate this problem existing. Problem back then was the doctors were using software that was outdated. Then it became patients finding difficulty in finding doctors. Then it became difficulty in doing consultations, and so on and so forth. You need to fall in love with the problem, and then you need to fall in love with solving the problem through your solution and through your craft. If you're in that zone, then startup is a great idea, because there will be lots of ups, but there'll be even many more downs. The downs will be really bad. The downs will be such that it will be heart-wrenching downs, right? And so the only thing that you will persist through the downs is the people who then succeed. It's not the ones who persist on the top. It's easy to stay on the top. So you need to have staying power. I have done Practo for 16 years now, right? So if you don't have staying power, startups are not for you. Because one thing is for sure, no matter whether you're Apple or Google or Facebook or whoever, the downs are there. The Facebook stock was down 90-80% just a few years back, right? So everybody has downs. Everybody has downs. And so it's very important to know that the question to ask yourself is, even if I didn't get funding, even if I didn't earn, would I still be able to sustain myself and do what I'm doing? Is that possible or not possible?
So okay, no, understood. So okay, don't do this for the funding. Don't do this for the founder tag. Don't do this for the headlines that you're gonna get. Don't do this for status symbol. I mean, the status uplift that you get with your alumni, that hey, you guys have taken jobs and I'm a job creator. So don't do it. Don't do it for that. But you said, okay, fall in love with the problem, which is great, but should you do it for wealth creation? Because I mean, there's a lot of wealth attached to it, and outcomes are also very wealth focused. So should you not be can wealth not be the primary driver?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Like I said, there are multiple ways, right? I'm just telling you what works for me, and I'm sure there might be other ways. But I think that chasing wealth might work. I've not done it, so I can't tell you that it might not work. But to me, the wealth is something that's created along the way when you solve a very important problem. Wealth, Jeff Bezos made it easy for people to get things at their home in the fastest way possible. Wealth will be created. So you solve important problems, wealth will automatically come to you, because wealth is nothing but a person getting more resources to solving more problems. Funding is nothing but society giving you resources and lending the society's resources to you, saying we think you have the ability to use these resources to create good for everybody around you. Please take these resources and do good for everybody. In the way of doing good, you will get more resources, and you of course can keep some part of those resources for your own upkeep and maintenance, but most of it has to go back to society. The job of entrepreneurs is to solve societal problems.
Extract everything that you said and make an abstract model of it. You're saying that hey, focus on solving a problem. If people see you, enough people and the right kind of people see you, that you're solving a big problem, a right problem, a good problem, people are going to allocate you with resources. These people could be investors, friends and family, whosoever, people in power. They'll be like, okay, this guy is a go-getter, let's give him resources, he will do good. Hopefully he does good. So in essence, what you're saying is focus on the work, money will come. Is that what you're saying? Because for a lot of people, and India is a very big country. India also has a lot of poverty. People have grown with certain conditioning around money. So you're saying, are you technically saying that, guys, focus on the work, money will come, don't worry?
Yeah, I would say don't worry. The metrics drives the world. Okay, if your business metrics, however small they are, if they are improving on a regular basis, more resources will be allocated to you. Usually, the way it works is you have an idea, you show it works, you show that it works. You should get one customer, get 10 customers, get 15 customers, and it keeps building like that. As you build these metrics, right, number of customers, you're building revenue, you're building this small, slow steps you take. You do it 1 month, do it for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and you're doing this without any support. People will notice. They'll say, hey, if this person can do so much without any resources, then imagine what he can do with resources. So showcase progress. It could be however small, but showcase progress. I realize that's the easiest way to get funding is go to business schools and put ideas up there, because and then you tell them that hey, it's not an idea, it's actually running business.
Got it. Okay, let me pick you on that. So what would you have done differently? You were given a chance to start up back in college again. What would you do differently?
I would not
Give
do.
me advice that is
Yeah.
relevant for 2024.
Okay. Advice for so I tell you the big mistakes I made, and the biggest mistake I made was raising too much capital. Okay, so the company was almost dead because we raised too much capital that we could not either utilize well,
When
or
was
we
that?
utilized
When
very
was
poorly.
this phase?
We raised this money in 2015 and 16. Then I had raised about 30 million, which was good enough. I had the idea, capability, and ability to convert that resources into outcome, right?
Mhm.
But when I increased that from 30 million to 200 million, right, US dollars, I didn't have the ability, capability, or the infrastructure to deploy that capital, and I deployed in a very poor manner. When I deployed in a poor manner, it almost brought the whole system down. And then it was only in 2018 and 19 that I stabilized it, and through COVID brought it back up. And then now we are growing fast with another 40% in the core business, and profitable for the last 12 months, and so on and so forth. But that was the biggest mistake I think I made. If I had to go back in time, I would be more sensible in the way how much capital I raised, how I did it. But making it more contextual to people in their 20s, early 20s, is that not to have this obsession on funding. You're not going to build a company in 1 year, 2 years. It's going to take 10 years. It's going to take 15 years. So you have to be ready for the long haul. There might be exceptions of success in 4 years, 5 years, but the usual median age would be definitely about 10 years. So look around you and see that who has a staying power for 10 years. Can I do this for 10 years? Is this problem worth solving for 10 years? Am I motivated enough for doing that? The more people you gather, those are your real assets.
Got it. So number one, don't raise too much. Number two, hire people who are there for the long haul. Maybe see, do they have the stamina as well as alignment to the problem statement to last a decade with you, because this is a marathon. Now, the first question, see, when somebody is young and somebody is offering them capital, they would do everything. They will show them dreams and paint a very rosy picture because they believe in their idea. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid. It's very easy to sell something that's grand. More often than not, we think that, hey, investor should have seen that this is not that big an idea. Maybe he shouldn't have given me so much money. How does that really work? You're saying you raise too much, but how does somebody who's young assess? I mean, before even raising, how does he assess, okay, this is the kind of capital I need and I should not take too much capital?
I think having good mentors really help. It's difficult, right? I mean, when you're 20, 25, I got that capital when I was 26, 27, right? And I had 7 years. I mean, 7 years of running the company. So I didn't have enough experience. So I should have had a better mentors that I could have relied on. That could have probably helped me in understanding, where I was and how I could have navigated that journey more carefully. So that would have definitely helped. Um, and the second thing I would say that I felt, I mean, what I'm just preaching now today, right, which is follow the problem. I started getting distracted from that, right? I myself could see that, because you have so much capital, you start hiring a lot of people. When you start hiring a lot of people, you get away from the action, right? You what we call now the front line, right? Earlier, I used to have a simple motto till 2014, 15: code and sell, right? You're either coding or you're selling. There are only two roles in the company, right? You're coding or you're selling, right? And that is what brought success to the company. Um, then what I started seeing happening was that because I started hearing these big words that you need to have this kind of management, tiered structure, this, that, I started, because when you have so much money, a lot of consultants come, right? And when a lot of consultants come, they give you a lot of advice. And those advice is how to spend that money. And the spending that
Right.
money was, create all these layers. So I created a bunch of layers. So I know for many years I went without actually meeting my end customers, which is what I used to do on a regular basis before, right? And then I got distanced away from the feedback I was receiving on the ground. So I became that much more delusional about what is actually happening on the ground. And I started solving problems that were not really the problems that I had begun solving, but problems that I would solve because I had the money, right? Oh, why can't we do that? Oh, why can't we do this? Oh, we can do this also. We can do that also. So it became about solving a lot of things in a very thin way, rather than going deep into the problem that I was invested into. So to always stay close to the ground, keep close to your customers, keep understanding what they're saying, no matter, and don't create too many layers in the company that can, you hear what the market is saying. So then it becomes like six layers of people telling people, telling people, telling people. By the time you hear it, it is the wrong information. And those are some of the mistakes that I ended up making.
Got it. So I'm trying to absorb the takeaways as somebody who's watching, I mean, as the audience, which would be in their early 20s. So you're saying, and you're causing a lot of mindset shifts, that hey, worry about the problem, don't worry about money will come as long as you focus on the right problem. But when money comes, don't take too much of it, because otherwise problems will happen. You will go away from the main problem that you're solving. So problem is the most important thing. Stay close to it, true to it, irrespective of whatever money you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very well put. The only last part I will just say: take how much you need. The whole idea that more is good is wrong.
Right.
I think a lot of advice is given that take as much as possible to, that's not necessarily true. Capital does not solve all problems. It sometimes, like my case, created problems for me.
Okay, lovely. Now I think mindset, we've really gone deep into it. You've also spoken to us about finding co-founders, and you have very like a one point answer that keep doing your stuff, keep showing up, the right people, you will attract the right people, you will attract the right investors, right co-founders. Awesome. Now that's your story, and obviously we are hosting you because you're very relatable to an audience that's young, that's looking to start up, because that's your story. I want some mental models or literal step by step answers for the question that I'm going to ask you. How do you find a co-founder?
Okay, step one, ideate on what areas interest you. So I listed down three verticals I want to hit. I put legal, healthcare, education. I had a small sheet. I put these three. I said, hey, these seem like interesting areas where I don't see too many products. I started ideating on that. I started creating a product. I started coding. When I started coding, I had to go around and ask, hey, who will come and work with me on this? I got 5, 6 people who came, started working together. We created a small product. I then took it back to Bangalore, uh, opened up Yellow Pages, checked out who can I sell to. I realized that lawyers, which was the first one, before seeing the product, asked me for terms and conditions, turned me off, saying, okay, why should I have terms and conditions? They said, no, you need to take my services to create terms and conditions, then create the product. I said, okay, this is too complicated. Scratched legal. Then I went to healthcare. And then my father's incident happened. I saw that healthcare was a good thing. I opened Yellow Pages again. I went to doctors. I pitched them a product. They said, wow, if this existed, I will buy it. I said, don't worry, we already have it. Went back to my team, said, why don't we create this? Just a few friends. We created something. And then there were ups and downs. And so some of the friends went away. Finally, there's only one guy who remained. He said, hey, you know what? After graduating, I want to do this. I think this is a great thing to do. And so we said, okay, great. Why don't we start a company and we'll do together? And that's how my co-founder was formed, right? By doing these things, I eliminated a lot of, eliminated a lot of people who were not ready for the long run, who are doing it for different reasons. And the right people kind of remained with me. And so that was the journey of, process of elimination, right? And that's how I found my co-founder. And then we were trying to contact my other co-founder for a few years. After my first co-founder joined me to start, the second one, we were pitching him this idea, and he was like, no, I want to enjoy my college days. Sorry, you guys go build this out. So we went out and built it out for 1 year. He was seeing us on the sidelines, and having a good time, and we were coding and building and selling. And then finally, after the college ended, we started in 2008 and the college ended in 2009. So 1 year, in final year, we were sitting and building and selling. He was not with us. And then finally, at the end of college, he called us and said, hey, you know what? I've seen you guys do so well. I mean, not so well, but put so much energy into this. I don't want to go do a corporate job. You guys are doing this. So I'll join you guys. Right? And he just joined as first employee. And he didn't, he was not a co-founder. But then after 10 years, we said that, hey, man, this guy has given as much to this company as we have. There's no reason to not call him co-founder. So Siddharth then during COVID became a co-founder. And that's how, he was a second co-founder. So I think, when these actions happen, it creates the right impression. So people are looking for actions. They're looking for, okay, they're watching people. They're saying, okay, what have they done? What have they done? What will they do? And then you create that atmosphere that, in these days vibe, right? And then people will, come together. So that is step by step. So that's how I found my two guys.
Wow. Okay, got it. Next question is again, I need a step-by-step answer. I can have multiple ideas. I can search the internet for ideas. I can find ideas that I'm passionate about or ideas that are money making. How do I decide which idea I should go and execute in the market? Is it something that I'm most passionate about, or is it something that is showing some requirement from the market? If the latter, how do I figure that requirement out, or how do I figure that demand out?
I'll tell you what I did, and there are definitely smarter ways to do this. But I'm a very action-oriented person, so I like feedback loops, and I try to it helps me gauge what is right and wrong. So the first idea, I was in college, and the first time we sat down in the night, we decided the first thing create a social network for colleges, right? Because you're in college, you can only come up with the problems you're faced in life with. The second time I said it, it sounded silly, so I stopped talking about it. Then I got interested in stock markets, and I said, hey, why don't I build a stock markets application? And I went down that path, and then I realized that, hey, it's too early. There are not too many users. I met a few people, spoke about it. I said, I'm doing this. So, and then the next one, you'll be surprised, is that my sister was, my cousin sister wanted to get married. And so we were looking, and this boring thing about going to marriage halls, right? And finding out which marriage halls are available. And I found it so boring that I said, okay, why don't I create a website where actually all marriage halls are there? And so you can find availability of marriage halls. Then I went and realized that, most of the people who run these managers are not really people who would go online. And this is 2007. So this was a process of elimination. So what happened with each idea, I started understanding the process of building a startup, right? And these are all silly ideas in retrospect, but each of them helped me undercover that, hey, okay, if why am I not doing social network? Because there's no real use case. Okay. So it was just learning these small traits of, okay, what makes a product, what makes a service, what makes a business model, what makes a this, but not theoretically doing it, right? Taking that idea, going out in the market, talking to customers, understanding whether it's really there or not there, taking that two, three steps forward, and then realizing that, okay, this is not there. Let me pivot now and figure out what really works. So the healthcare idea was the only one that I could get 100 people to tell me that I will pay you. I think that time was some 10,000 rupees per year. So that was almost, I think, 10 lakhs a year if you were to build this product for me. And I had almost, like I was saying, about, I think, between 50 lakhs and 1 crore of revenue, or in that range, before I graduated. Right. And so when I had a pay package and I had this option, I said, hey, like, makes sense.
Okay. And with that, I'm also going to take some questions from the audience. I see one question. It may be a little too niche and may not be very relevant to other people, but I'm going to still ask you, Shashank, artificial intelligence. What's happening with artificial intelligence in healthcare? Are there new opportunities? Are there some ideas that you can suggest the audience to pursue? Are there ideas that you are pursuing at Practo?
Oh man, I think this is super, super important for this. I mean, you're so lucky that this is coming out right now. So if you're in college or you're just graduating, this is the best thing to grab onto. When I was graduating, internet was the best thing. Everybody around me ignored the internet. I was the one promoting it, and that's what gave me the edge. I used the technology wedge of the internet to take escape velocity. I built a B2B product first, and then I built a B2C product when the mobile internet took off in India. So it's very important to look at this technology technology angles and take advantage of them. So you are very, very lucky that after there were two waves that have happened. The first wave that has happened was on the internet, that happened in 2005, 2006, 2007. We took advantage of that to build the software. And then the mobile internet came out when the data plans and mobile became more popular in 2012, 13, when it became easy to use it on the phone. Now is the third one. If I was a college student right now, I would be all over this, not just in healthcare and across every sector. On healthcare, today I met an amazing company which does AI scans of their mouth, right? And so basically, it's a dental AI software. It's called Scano. So you can just scan your teeth, and it'll automatically tell you the health of your teeth. It tells you if you were to ignore it, what happens and how much cost will it take to recover, to fix your teeth. So and what can you do to prevent it? So do you have stains? Do you have cavities? Do you need correction? It tells you all of that, right? It tells you what is the detrimental impact of taking no action as well. So there's so many applications like this. Now this is just healthcare. This is just, sorry, dental. There's so many specializations. Each and every specialization have immense opportunity. And we at Practo are now building an AI doctor. We all our audits that happen in Practo happen through an AI right now. So the AI system runs through all the teleconsultations, checks whether doctors are making mistakes or not. The most gross errors are completely checked. Earlier, I did not have enough staff to audit all, so I would audit a sample 1%. Today, thanks to AI, I can audit 100% of my chats. Now I'm giving this AI doctor to the doctors themselves, saying that, hey, why do you need an internal team to call you up? You see what you're doing and correct it on the go while you're doing a teleconsultation. And then our plan is to also later bring it to the consumer, where the consumer could have easy access to healthcare and have a chat that could give them prescription options and other options, and a second opinion for the patient. So we're doing a lot on AI. That's just one such example. But oh man, you're so lucky to have AI coming out now, and take full advantage of this. This is next wave. Everything's going to be rewritten. Everything's going to change. So you can build some phenomenal companies in the next 10 years.
That's a good one. Uh, Next question. If tomorrow someone offered to buy Practo for a ridiculous amount of money, would you sell? And what would you do after you've done Practo?
That's a fantastic question, man.
Nice.
So the real answer is that there have been offers to buy Practo, multiple offers to buy
Mhm.
Practo. And the good part has been that, of course, we've said no to each other, and that's why we're here. When we ask the same question to ourselves, that hey, okay, let's say we sell Practo for a ridiculous amount, and it was a ridiculous amount, and we make all this money, and what do you do? The answer was I would redeploy the same resources to solve the same problem, because the problem is not solved. So the answer to the question is that I would redeploy to solve the same problem. So maybe if the problem gets solved, or gets solved to a large degree, then I might have problem doubts. But right now, I think we have at least another 10-15 years where we have a lot of work ahead of us to solve the problem, and then we'll see.
What were your initial years go-to market strategy? I think it was, I mean, you were on the ground, you were foot soldiers yourself, visiting doctors. Is that true? Or maybe you can answer this in depth.
Yeah, I mean, initial GTM strategy was, I would always wanted to sell first and then build, because I didn't want to build something that can't be sold. So initial today it's much easier, but when the internet wasn't there, there was a time such as such. I had a yellow pages, and in these yellow pages I had a list of doctors, and I would call them up and pretend that I had a company, and I would pitch them a product. I would see what the reaction is, change the product pitch, and then some of them would give me meetings. I would make some very quick brochures. I would go to them and say, hey, or I think on the laptop I would have some mock-ups. I would take those mock-ups to them and pitch the product to them. And those who said yes, we went ahead and closed closer to them. And those who didn't, we learned from those. So it was a lot of doing it by yourself. I would say that the founder should definitely sell the first 100 customers. Right, 100 customers should come from the founder, and show the way to the rest that it can be sold. Right, it's not okay to tell somebody to do something that you can't do. So the first product was coded by me with my co-founder. The first almost 100 sales, I did it myself, or I accompanied to close those sales myself, led those sales, and so on and so forth. So doing it yourself, you learn, and then you can tell others what to do as well. The other thing I did in GTM was that I would basically I mean, I would definitely use the years as a student a lot. So one of the learnings I had was that as a student I have zero obligations. I don't have any liabilities, right? And in fact, some of you might be lucky enough to get some pocket change from your parents. So I use that time very well. So my second year, third year, fourth year, I think I wasted my first year, but I should have maybe use that as well. But all these years I would use it to improve my craft of entrepreneurship, and that really helped me, because there's zero liability on me. Anything was a promise. Worst thing, I get a job. Not the worst thing in life, but the best thing is, for those 4 years I have no liability. I can learn as much as I can. I can do as much as I can, and that's what I used, and that became a big advantage to me. Of course, I missed a lot of hostel parties, and I missed a lot of hostel fun. I did do a few trips with my friends, but I did miss a bit of action back in the hostel. But that's okay. I mean, you have to sacrifice something to get something.
Right. Now, you were catering to Indian audience. You could literally go visit these guys on ground. Not everyone's building for India, or not everyone has their customers so accessible. What are some of the other ways people could do GTM? If you could think of when the audience is not so accessible, when you cannot touch and feel, or just like directly reach out to the audience. What would you do there? For example, in your case, when you're expanding to other countries, was the playbook always to land there and figure out the next steps?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even today, when we have to do new market, I would go into the market. I would go meet the customers or understand what the market is like. This has to be done, with first touch, right? Even if it's consumers, even if it's dealers, even if it is SMB customers, just being in the market, you get a sense of what the market is like. Even if it's consumers, right? I mean, like even today on weekends, we do a ton of consumer research, where we bring consumers to a room, we talk to them, we ask them, we listen to them, we understand what their problems are, why are they doing something, why are they not doing something, why would they choose to do what we want them to do. So all these are just through customer interactions and feedback. So even today, every single customer feedback that goes on our app store, that goes on this thing, I read every single one of them, almost every single one of them, right? So that I understand what our customers telling me, what are consumers telling us, what is working, what's not working for them, what are doctors telling us, what's working, what's not working for them. This is a consistent and constant effort that one has to make to be in the front line. And so I don't know if any other way really works, because that's the fastest way in which you can understand. To build my first product, I literally used to spend days in the hospital and clinics to just notice how the receptionist or the doctor would use my product. What can they click? What can they not click? What is working? What's not? What are they understanding? What are they not understanding? I would make all these notes, come back and change the product.
I think you have some, Gen Z fans in the chat. They're asking you, Shashank, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Genuinely, if you ask me, I just want to build a good product, man. I just wish I had the ability to build products as beautiful as Apple, or as amazing as Elon Musk, right? I mean, I think these are products that will change humanity and civilization. So I wish I had the superpower to create such products and had the opportunity to solve such big problems.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. One last question, one tactical question. Practo does a lot of SEO. Were you too focused on SEO from day one? If not, when did you start focusing on SEO? Is this a very impactful channel for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Day one, man. Free traffic. It's free traffic. We optimized it from day one. It's something that I understood. I again got my teeth deep into it. I understood, so that I understood how it works, why it works. Just to give you an example, SEO worked not by optimizing SEO, but by actually I sent 5 people on their motorcycles when there's no Google Maps as well, on GPS across the city to map every single road and gully, right? And when they're going, just like how today Google takes a photograph, I made them take photographs, right? Even before how Google Maps or the Google businesses was created. So this allowed me to get data that was fresh on the internet. And when it's fresh on the internet, the Google optimizes it. So it was actually my operations team that actually got me the SEO goodness, not my marketing team that got me the SEO goodness.
How SEO is changing because of ChatGPT? Are you guys doing something around that?
I just had dinner with the guy who built Gemini for Google and raised it
Okay.
from 0 to 1 billion. I don't think that's what he said. Basically, the answer to that is that the pie is growing. If you notice, the number of times you are actually searching has actually increased now. It's not just that your queries. So the pie has increased. If you see Google's returns, their returns and their stock price has actually gone up. Their usage has gone up because user behavior has changed. So it is still yet to be seen whether the SEO will really change. Of course, it will change from the current format. It will become, I think, more guided search than the format. The 10 blue links are going to go away. It's going to be guided search, but the basic principles of Google are going to remain the same. Having said that, you need to optimize it for even OpenAI and chatbots like that. But I don't see the current form of commerce changing that rapidly.
Right. Got it. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Uh, okay. Cool. This was great. Thank you so much, Shashank. This was very helpful. It was very valuable. Thanks for the mental models and the mindset shifts that you've caused, and thanks for giving us the time. It's not always that we get someone like you to answer queries upfront. This was great.
No, thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you, and thank you to Wadhwani Foundation for what it does. Selflessly, I remember Samir Kant, who was the Wadhwani Foundation member, who helped me understand entrepreneurship, give a lot of resources to us, guided us back 15 years back. So I've always been grateful to the Wadhwani Foundation, and also to all of them who are listening in. Really looking up to you to building some great kick-ass products and services, and doing yourself proud and doing India and the world proud. More power to all of you.
Awesome. That's a wrap. Thank you, Shashank, and thank
Thank
you everyone
you.
in the chat. This is a wrap. Good day. Goodbye.